First, I'm going to trace the oak tag sloper onto tracing paper. You probably already have a copy of this, so if so, you may use that copy to develop your pattern, in which case you can skip to 16 minutes and 40 seconds. Starting with the front piece, find mid-armhole or the crease line that's marked on your sloper, armhole crease line. Come up about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch and draw a straight line to the apex line at the shoulder dart. In the middle of that line, go up about 3/8 of an inch, and we're going to make that line a curved line by starting at the bust line with your curve up to the new dotted line, and then back to the armhole. So I'm basically disregarding the straight line because now it's curved in blue. At the apex, I do not want a point, so I'm simply curving that, and I'm going to use the first line of the vertical dart closest to the center front. I will eliminate all the other dart intake at the waist up to the bust line, as you will see shortly. I'm coming down from the apex along that blue line and putting a perpendicular red line above the apex on the curved line and at the apex. These will serve as notch lines in seam allowance later when the pattern is developed and the seam allowance is added. I'm cutting away the center front piece along the first vertical dart line through the apex and into the curved line all the way to the armhole. Now I have two pieces. I'm folding that shoulder dart closed. Fold on the line closest to center front and then fold it closed as shown. The dart is pressed with your fingers towards the center front. Tape it down. In other words, we're getting rid of this dart. By shifting it closed, it brings the armhole area up. So you see a big gap between the piece on the left at the armhole and the piece on the right. Now what I'm doing is I'm measuring the intake of the vertical darts because I want to get rid of all that. So I've measured it. In this case, I believe it's 3/8 on either side, so 3/4 and 3/4 is 1.5. I'm making a red mark 1.5 inches from the edge at the waist. Down below the waist, I'm measuring what that dart intake is, and I'm getting rid of that. So I'm measuring with red. That each one of those little vertical darts were 1/4 of an inch, so it's a whole inch. From the bust apex, I'm going into the waist where the intake of the dart is taken away. I left a little bit just for shaping. So all of this to the right of the red line is what the dart intake was with the two vertical darts from the apex down. I'm erasing the dart to the left of the red line so as not to be confused. The red line is actually going to be the seam line. Just checking my measurements. Now, right under the bust, I'm scooping that out a little bit, about 3/8 of an inch. That's to compensate for the higher part of the dart to the left that was taken away. The part that wasn't erased. So now you see I've scooped under the bust line and cut this away. Now basically we have the left side is the side front piece. The right side piece is the center front piece. So now you can see the shape of the bust. See how they're fitting back together? So the dartage now is in the shape of the pieces. There aren't really darts, they're just shapes that when sewn together will create the same shape as the dart would have created. What I'm doing now is making a scooped neckline. I know how low the model wants it from the mark I put on the original sloper, from the center front down. Hers was 4.5 inches, and also on the shoulder line I went out. I'm making a right angle at the center front. That's the depth of the neckline. And now, free-handed first, I'm going to scoop the neckline, or make a nice curved line for the scooped neck. Making a right angle at the shoulder where the neckline starts, and with my curve, making a nice, smooth, scooped mark for my new neckline. Remember, the pattern is developed before any seam allowance is added. Adding seam allowance before it's developed will just basically get in the way of the development. Here I'm deciding where to start the shaped hem. Right angle, and scooping down, making a curved line going down, reversing the tool, and then straight across. As you can see, this is like a shirt tail hem on a man's blouse or shirt. This hem line started just a fraction above the actual hip line. What I'm doing here is flipping the side front piece onto the back, matching the side seams. This way I can just trace the hem to the back piece. Often the back of a garment will be slightly longer than the front. It gives a more graceful look. So if you want the back to be lower, then from the bottom of the curve just go down a little bit. And this one, they're pretty much the same. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting the side seams together and marking where the princess line on the front starts. Usually the back is a little bit above, maybe 1/2 inch. What I'm doing now is connecting that armhole placement through the leg of the dart at the waist and closest to the center back. Leaving a little bit of excess for ease. From the bottom of the dart, following the center line, I'm going straight down. What I'm doing is creating a back and a side back piece, 2 pieces. And we'll get rid of the whole dart at the waist pretty soon. Now the reason I'm moving away from the drawn line at the bust area is because there's a little bit of dartage left. I'm going above the dart in several places, making lines perpendicular to the new seam line. Again, those, just like the front, will be notch lines that go into the seam allowance. All of the red lines that I just drew will be notch lines. Every few inches, there's not a specific place it has to be in the back. Now that I'm cutting the dart out, you'll start to see that there are 2 pieces that will fit back together, shaping in at the dart and around to the armhole. Now you can see where these 2 pieces will fit nicely. The shaping is in the actual shape of the pattern pieces, not in having darts. So when these are sewn, you can see at the waist, to pull those 2 pieces in will make a nice shape. What I'm doing here, if you see there's still some dart on the back piece, a little bit, I'm trimming off that to compensate for that dart. Transferring the notch marking and just trimming that excess. Until I sew this in muslin and fit the model, I will not know if this is a perfect fit, but this is how to start. Now what I'm doing is aligning the shoulders. The shoulder in the front piece is the width that I want from the outside of the shoulder to the neckline. I need to make the back piece neckline the same. So I'm coming down center back, and the mark that I put on the shoulder is where the scoop starts at the shoulder line. Now, I have a right angle at center back. I'm ignoring that dart for right now and going right to the new mark on the shoulder. Erase the dart. Although the dart intake is really still there, it's about 1/2 inch. We'll move that dart down into the blouse. So I'm coming over about 3.5 inches on the new neckline, and at a slight angle from the neckline out to the shoulder blade, I'm creating a 1/2 inch dart to compensate for the dart that was on the shoulder. This will help shape the back neckline so that it's snug to the body. Fold it, pressing the middle and folding it so that it's going towards the center back as if being pressed, and cut it out. Label your pieces, side back, front, side front, erase any markings you no longer need. And now we have all 4 pieces, back, side front, and front, ready to add seam allowance.